Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Tahoe Silicon Mountain. My name is Ellen Rayner, and I will be your moderator for tonight's event. Tahoe Silicon Mountain is a local 501c3 that's been in Truckee for about 11 years now. Our flagship event is Mountain Minds Monday, which you're a part of right now. It's a monthly speaker series, always the second Monday of the month. The other monthly event is on hiatus right now during COVID while we're not meeting in person, and that's First Friday at 4, which is an Entrepreneurs Roundtable. We also participate in a few annual programs in partnership with other nonprofits. We do meet every month. The topic is still being nailed down for November, but I think it could be fire technology or a ski binding technology. The best way to keep informed about what's going on with Tahoe Silicon Mountain is to sign up for our email newsletter. We only send it a couple times a month, just leading up to our Mountain Minds Monday. You can also join our Facebook group to be a part of the community and speak with others who are a part of our group. And of course, you're watching right now on our YouTube channel, and there you'll have access to archives of many years of past events. We do suggest a donation of $5 even now while we're meeting virtually, because we do have expenses on an ongoing basis. You can go to the Tahoe Silicon Mountain homepage, and in the upper right is a yellow donate button. Some of the things that our budget goes to even while we are meeting virtually are listed here. And we are a 100% volunteer board that runs this organization. We couldn't do it without our sponsorships, and I'd like to say a few things about our gold and silver sponsors. So our gold and silver sponsors, Holland and Hart has been our gold sponsor pretty much from the very beginning. It's our longest term sponsor. It's a law firm with offices based in Truckee. Holland and Hart strive to lead their profession by giving the highest level of service and loyalty to their clients by forging a team, lawyers, paralegals, staff, and other professionals whose work is infused with their values. The founder's philosophy was simple: keep going up, and if you get stuck, there's always another route to the top. This is where the spirit of the firm's pioneering and innovation began. We have two silver sponsors. Mobo Law is a full-service law firm that started in Truckee. Mobo Law provides excellent representation in an approachable, responsive environment with a human touch. The firm is comprised of attorneys and support staff with integrity and a solid work ethic, providing exceptional work that truly benefits their clients. They love their work and it shows. Also a silver sponsor is Bare Knuckle Branding. If you're already signed up for our email, you've probably received emails from them or seen their name on social media. Bare Knuckles is a branding and marketing company based in Reno that will help your company develop a brand strategy that packs a punch. Bare Knuckle gives you the tools to pull your vision together with an unstoppable brand with a plan. When your business and your branding are aligned, miracles happen. We're also supported by a host of community partners: Nevada County Tech Connection, Tahoe Truckee Media, the Truckee Airport Lyft Workspace, where we're broadcasting from today, and the Truckee Chamber of Commerce. You too can be a sponsor, and this is how to get in touch with us if you'd like to be a sponsor. So I'm going to move on to the main event and introduce our speakers. So the title of tonight's talk is "The Steam Behind the Steam at KidZone Museum." And I'm just going to direct your eyes to the bottom of the screen. If you have questions for the presenters, and we'll do a Q&A at the end, make sure you ask in the YouTube comments, and we'll be monitoring those to make sure that we ask the questions of Helen and Carol. So very young children are filled with curiosity and are relentless in their questions about how the world works. Why is the sky blue? Why do we have two eyes? How do fish breathe? At a young age is when children need to begin their investigative journey in STEM, when their brain development is on warp speed. Tonight, we'll hear from Helen Pelster, the Museum Board President Emeritus, and Carol Meagher, Museum Executive Director, as they lead us through how a child's development in science, technology, engineering, art, and math skills requires hands-on development. Pelster and Maher will share how the local Truckee KidZone Museum helps to create those hands-on experiences that build the brain's synapses that will allow their adult selves the ability to problem solve, communicate, create, and use critical thinking skills. You'll learn about the STEAM behind the scene programs in Truckee. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Carol and Helen to share their slides.
Hi there. Thank you, Ellen. So, Carol, do you want to go ahead and share slides?
Yes.
Great. I'm delighted to be here today to explore how creative play environments support the development of STEAM thinking in children. My name's Helen Pelster. I'm a software engineer, a photographer, an educator, a trail runner, and a mom. Thank you so much for sharing your precious time with us. I'll be presenting today with Carol Meagher. And Carol is the executive director of the KidZone Museum and has built science programming from the ground up at the museum. So Carol's going to be sharing slides, but I'll go ahead and tell you a little bit about how I came to volunteer with the KidZone Museum. It was about 15 years ago. My little kids were then toddlers, and I was spending a lot of time at the museum, like a lot of local families. The museum is incredible inside. And I'm a web designer. I was at the time as well. And I was like, wow, this place like super needs an amazing website to go with the amazing space inside. And why don't they have one? And so I went to the organization and said, let me help you. And there I was volunteering, and I can't step away. 15 years later, I'm not doing the website anymore, thankfully, but I'm still helping out, and I just can't quit because I love it. And I love the work the museum does to inspire learning through creative play and discovery. So go on to the next slide, please. And let me introduce you to the museum. The KidZone Museum is in North Lake Tahoe. It is located on the Truckee High School campus on Donner Pass Road. Our presentation today will connect the dots from creative play for young children to STEAM learning and building a STEAM mindset. So STEAM is really STEM, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, with the addition of art, that creativity piece. The museum really lays the groundwork for this creative piece because creative play is at the core of what the museum does. Hands-on creative play for young children up to age 7 is our primary programming. However, we do offer other educational programs as well, which I'll get into in a bit. The museum is 29 years young and running. We are a completely grassroots effort. We now do have paid staff, although in the very early days, it was all volunteer parents. But our exhibits and our programs are community created and definitely powered by our local community. Next slide, please. I want to give you a little bit about the main functions of our community. So like I mentioned, creative play is primary. And I'll tell you a story about when I first saw the museum. This picture on the left of the 2 little girls in the restaurant is from 2003. And those are my nieces. It was before I had kids, and my neighbor told me about this place in Truckee. She said it was amazing and I had to take them. So I took them down there and we went into this yurt building and we went inside and I couldn't believe it. I was like, what is this like some kind of franchise, some kind of Exploratorium offshoot. I was blown away that this little gem was hidden in Truckee. And from the beginning, as you can see, really high quality play exhibits for the kids really just to imagine what they might be doing, eating pizza at a restaurant. And those imaginative play exhibits are still the core of what goes on inside the museum. The other photo is present day, and that little girl is playing in a train exhibit that was built by our volunteer exhibits team in the current museum. So we know from the American Academy of Pediatrics that play is essential to development because it contributes to the cognitive, physical, social, and emotional well-being of children and youth. So play is at the core of everything that we do. Next slide, please, Carol. We also offer more formal learning environments. These tend to be for older children, elementary, getting into middle school. One little girl, Olivia, she attended a girls' science camp that KidZone offered. It was at the school. And her mother said she was just so engaged in playing with the materials that make liquids turn into solids that she forgot she was even learning science. And that's how we teach older kids to play. And all of this play, again, is their work. It's their job. Our STEAM learning programs reach 2,300 children in a typical year through experiences in the museum, in the schools, and in vulnerable neighborhoods. Next slide, please. So we need our services to be available to everyone in the community, and we've learned a lot about what it takes to reach these most vulnerable. I'll tell you a little bit later about my Girls Who Code program. But let me tell you about my experience reaching underserved families here in Truckee, and which surprised me. So we're offering a free program called Girls Who Code, and we're trying to reach girls of all backgrounds here in town. And I was really surprised because it's not as simple as just showing up for this free offering. KidZone's outreach coordinator told me, she said, Helen, I'm promoting the program, but I've had parents come tell me, what is coding? So what I needed to understand is that there are a lot more barriers to access. Another example is transportation. And so we at KidZone, we value our partnerships with local organizations to connect families with our services. It's really important. So with that introduction to the museum's core services, I'd like to share with you a glimpse into the world of a museum graduate. And I'm going to play a short video now. So Carol, can you go ahead and stop screen sharing? Thank you.
My name is Clara Castellar. I'm 16 and I grew up here in Truckee. I am really into the field of physics and computer science, and I actually do a lot of art and writing as hobbies. I really enjoy doing both digital and traditional art. And for traditional art, I do watercolors and alcohol-based inks. So when I used to go to KidZone a lot when I was younger, I really loved the art room because it had a ton of paints and markers and these big rolls of paper that you could just rip off a huge piece of and then just paint all over. My favorite exhibit at KidZone was one of the iterations of the undersea exhibit. It had this submarine area, a really cool area that blew my mind when I was younger. There was a little back room area that had this sort of glowy climbing wall that had purple lights all over. It was really, really cool. I remember being really, really excited whenever the exhibits would change. And when they first created the outside area, there was the water pump station, which I was obsessed with. Yeah. I consider myself really lucky because from a young age, I've always seen myself as somebody who could do science if I wanted to, and who really wanted to do science, because I was raised on like Nova Science Now podcasts, and those were the only things I watched when I was younger. No other TV. It was only Nova Science Now, and that really exposed me to a lot of different voices in science and a lot of different fields. In physics, I really like quantum physics and quantum computing, which combines physics and high-level computing, and it's really cool, and it has the possibility to completely change the world as we know it.
All right. So I'll just go ahead and talk for a minute before I. There we go. So let's dig into like the heart of STEAM for kids. Why is creative play essential? Well, it gives children the permission to ask questions and to explore answers in a really unexpected way. So maybe 2 + 2 = 4 is not the best route to solving mathematical problems. So we really seek to inspire creativity in support of this STEAM learning. And we see that those kids who grew up playing, who grow up tinkering, they really embrace science and engineering. And let's meet another one of our graduates who's really inspiring to me, who displays exactly that. So this is Jake, and I'm going to go ahead and play his video.
My name is Jake Hamilton, and I live in Cape Canaveral, Florida. I work at United Launch Alliance. I'm a systems test engineer on the Atlas and Vulcan rockets. I'm working specifically radio frequency, which is communication systems, things like antennas and wireless video, stuff like that, and also our flight termination system. So if we need to blow up the rocket mid-flight, we have the ability to do that. So those are the two systems that I am primarily responsible for. We do things like system level testing and then integrated testing with the rest of the systems. So I grew up in Truckee, California. I've always been interested in tinkering and math and science and learning how things work, putting things together, breaking them apart, and putting them back together again. It's always been kind of my passion. My time at KidZone when I was younger really, I think, helped me to get to where I am today. Just being in this area, interacting with physical things is a huge part of learning. And so I think just getting away from the books and the theoretical stuff and really just playing around and having a good time and figuring out how things work and are put together and taken apart by my own hands versus seeing someone else do it, I think is really it's a really good thing. Yeah, so when I was in high school and early college, I taught some camps here at the KidZone. I helped develop a chemistry camp or an electricity camp, and also helped run a chemistry camp for the kids. So it was a lot of fun to try to put that together on a level that they can understand and have fun with. But when I walk into KidZone, I see fun, really. I see kids running around in here having a blast on in the trains and in the old airplane and in all the camps, making scoops and gunks and just having a good time.
All right, great. Thank you, Carol. Next slide, please. All right, so what is the need here in the Truckee Tahoe area for STEAM? Well, the needs that we've identified are a need to help supplement science programming in the local schools. So there's not a lot of funding for science to really happen in our local schools, and we're rising to the need to help provide that. There's also a need to support low-income Latinx families. There are many historically underrepresented groups in science, technology, engineering, and math. And in Truckee, those groups are typically Latinx. And another important need that we've identified is to help build an identity in girls in particular that they can enter these STEM and STEAM fields. Next slide, please. So how do we do this? It all goes back to play to begin with, being fundamental. So even though it just looks like play, it's more than just kids getting their yayas out. It's actually their work. Again, we have camps for that discovery, for that more formal learning for slightly older kids, and hopefully still very playful. No one is ever turned away for need at the museum. We offer scholarships for all of our camps, as well as for playing for the younger kids. These classes help build a STEAM identity. And it's really important that we are able to invite those underrepresented groups into the fold. And we do that with our award-winning outreach program. We have an outreach person on staff who really helps get the word out and is really integrated in the community. Next slide, please. What are the barriers? I mentioned that I offer a program for girls. Let's talk about girls as underrepresented in STEM. And I'm saying STEM, I'm actually referring to a specific article, Girls and Women in STEM, that explored what are the barriers to engagement. And what they found is led to a few suggestions. So one is to foster collaborations between schools and science museums. We're really excited to be part of that solution. And another is to create informal STEM learning environments, activities after school, and summer camps. Again, we're proud to be able to offer some of those solutions. Next slide, please, Carol. With the Girls Who Code program at KidZone, we're offering an after-school club format specifically for girls. Right now for middle school girls, and we're also have high school girls come in as mentors. So what is this about? Less about providing instruction and more about providing a STEM identity, more to help girls know that this is something that they can do. It's about building confidence and bravery, and it's about community building, about having a support group. And I had a wonderful conversation with a young woman who's now 25 years old, who grew up in Truckee going to KidZone, and super inspirational to me. She is an engineer, and I'm really excited to share what she had to say to me. So I'm going to go ahead and play that video now. Pull that up for you.
My name is Samantha Schaefer, and I grew up in Truckee, California. I went to college at UC Davis, where I studied electrical engineering, and I decided to go with that major because I really enjoyed math, and that was a very math-intensive major. And as I started taking more and more classes there, I was like, oh, this is actually pretty fun, and so I stuck with it. and now I am a hardware engineer at Hewlett-Packard Enterprise, where I work on a team that designs printed circuit boards for network switches. I'm on a team of about 15 engineers, and I'm the only female, and that's a little bit weird sometimes, but once I kind of got past the discomfort of being the only female, I got to know all my coworkers, and working with them hasn't been any issue, although I still would really like it if there were other women on my team. So growing up, I was always enjoying doing different kinds of art projects and building and problem solving. And I took a bunch of art and science classes at the KidZone that were really engaging. And I remember taking like an electronics class, and I think we built like a clock with a potato or something. And it was super fun and super exciting. And then I also did like chemistry classes where you like combine things and they explode. And I just always enjoyed doing those things. And it gave me confidence going forward that I never doubted that I couldn't do science, because I had been doing science my whole life growing up. Oh, and then another thing I learned at the KidZone was we had an electricity camp where we built houses out of cardboard boxes. And then we took Christmas lights, and we used batteries to light up the Christmas lights, so I could combine the art and the science and the building all in one project. And that was super, super fun. So growing up, I was always enjoying different kinds of science things. So then when I got older and I was in like middle school and high school taking math and science classes, and I felt confident already that I could do those things, and I ended up being really good at them. I think as like a really young girl being taught fun science and shown how to do something and getting to do it yourself and build it yourself and having the people around you trust that you can do that, then it makes it a lot easier growing up. So or like as you get older, you don't have the doubt that, oh, this is just for boys, or like, I'm not good at this, so I'm not going to do it. But if you do it when you're young and you're not afraid of making mistakes, then it'll help you going forward. So I want young girls to be able to try different experiments like different chemistry or electricity experiments where they can do it themselves and see results without having somebody, trying to take over or sitting aside watching the boys do it. So getting involved and not having anybody question their ability to do it is going to be really helpful as they move forward in life.
I love how Samantha talks about like not sitting aside and having to watch the boys do it, and knowing that like I can do this. No one's gonna try to take it over from me. So with that, I'm going to turn the presentation over to Carol Meagher, who is going to talk about the continued direction for the KidZone Museum ahead. Thank you, Carol.
Thank you, Helen. And hello, everyone. I'm, as Helen said, Carol Meagher. I've been the director for over 16 years and have enjoyed every minute of it. I was a volunteer before that when my children were little, and have had a full experience from my kids since they were little, all through their childhood at the museum, which has been really great for our family. So I'd like to show you what we have planned for the future, which is a new building at Regional Park, Truckee River Regional Park, which is off of 267. Our economic and operational feasibility study said that we needed a building that was 12,000 square feet to serve our future audience, that we were expected to be over 50,000 people a year. Just give me a minute here. There we go. The property that was generously allocated for the museum by a Truckee Donner Parks and Recreation is, like I said, at Regional Park, and it's located behind the rodeo, which is in the right corner of this map. And we're excited to be a part of this plan for the park because it includes the library, which is to the left of the ball fields in that white building, as well as in between the KidZone and the library are various organizations like the Tahoe Food Club and the community gardens and the railroad exhibit, which is actually a sit-on-top train for kids to enjoy that will eventually be linked to the museum as well, which we're excited about. We have to do these giant projects with partnerships, and so we're really excited to have great partners in this next adventure for the museum. The other great thing is it's on the Truckee River, and the Legacy Trail goes right through this property. And it's very close to the downtown corridor of Truckee. So this is the floor plan for the building that's going to be situated at that site. You can see the blue area is the play floor, which is going to include a variety of wonderful hands-on play exhibits, which I'll go into a little bit more detail later. And then the purple section, this purple is our discovery hall with a variety of learning and classrooms. That includes a STEM lab, the den, which is a space for tween and teens, and a flexible space for nutrition classes that are hosted by the cafe, and cooking and various camps and bigger STEAM activities for the public. We're also excited to have a workspace in the far right, actually it's going to include a workshop to make our exhibits, which we have never had the luxury of having before. And this marks this little shape that I'm putting in there. That's the size of our current space at the museum. So you can see we're really excited to be able to welcome more people in a bigger facility. I'll show you our current facility. And this is why we needed a bigger facility like the one I just showed. We are in a temporary structure that is a tent. We've been in it for nearly 20 years and it's starting to decay. And with the big winters, it's been difficult to keep it in good form. So that's when our board and community members have been really pushing forward to get new property and to build a building. To build the building that I showed you earlier, the project is estimated at $10.5 million. So as Helen talked about the importance of play, it's going to go forward in our new museum for play and learning through different age groups. And I emphasize this because you have to go through the first stages before you can become a critical STEM thinker. And that's what we are building, those stages of development for children from early childhood on through their teenage years at the new facility. People who are most at risk for adequate child development are those who are either living in poverty or do not have stable home lives or have other, don't have space for play like a backyard. And in our school district, 44% of the children in our district are on free and reduced lunch, which is an indicator of poverty. So for us, and like Helen mentioned, how important outreach is, we want to make sure that children who really need play and learning at the museum and the future stages that they are going to need to become STEM thinkers, we want to be there for those families and those kids. Currently, we offer scholarships and outreach connections to make sure at-risk children can participate in these museum experiences. And the new facility is going to allow us to welcome more children. Currently, the museum is at capacity in the tent 30 days a year, and we cannot accommodate our current audience. But the new facility will allow us to do that. So one of the spaces that's going to be new at the future facility, museum facility, is the Sunrise Spot. The Sunrise Spot is going to a place where children can develop their sensory integration skills. It's especially beneficial to children with disabilities who need more hands-on experiences to develop sensory integration. We often talk about the five senses, which is touch, taste, smell, sight, and hearing, but there are two other key areas for sensory development: body awareness and balance. For example, when kids hand-eye coordination, or when a child is going to throw a ball to his friend, the mind is telling the body what the body needs to do. And some children just need to practice that more in early childhood to be able to be ready for learning in school, especially children with special needs. Research also shows that sensory play builds nerve connections in the brain pathways, which leads children to have the ability to complete more complex learning tasks. And if the slide before showed children develop 80% of their brain in the first 5 years. And if you are unable to do that in those first 5 years, the next 5 years and the next 5 years, you're going to be behind, and the child will be behind in their critical development. Sensory play supports language, cognitive growth, fine and gross motor skills, problem-solving skills, and social interaction. This type of play aids in developing and enhancing memory, and sensory play is great for calming an anxious or frustrated child. This space will allow for our current programs for groups and families with children who have disabilities to use it for special programs and daily activities. It will be a spot for families to learn together, and it's unique in our community. So this exciting rendering is of the play floor that I mentioned earlier. You can see in the front, we will have STEAM play, which will be great for educating children and families on stream flow and other environmental education topics. We also have, where you see the windmill, those are going to be traveling exhibit area. That's what the partnerships that Helen mentioned in our science world. We have partnerships with the Oregon Museum of Science and Industry and Exploratorium, who build these kind of exhibits that we can rent and bring to our community. And in the back, you'll see the Forest Lookout, which is a combination learning and physical experience play structure. The whole museum is going to focus on earth, wind, and water, because everybody in Tahoe loves our natural environment. And so the whole museum will have a look and feel of our natural environment and have sustainable practices in our building. That's what we hope to do, practices, as well as providing educational around forest health, partnering with our fire department for various activities about clearing spaces, etc. So it's a great learning and fun activity through play. And the far left is the saplings area, which you can't see that well in this play floor rendering, but it is very similar to what we currently offer at the museum. We will just continue offering that hands-on play experiences for young children up to age 5 in that area. So for years, families have been asking the museum to please offer activities and programs for their children through high school. Some of the kids in our communities, if they're not into sports or other types of activities, they feel disconnected. And parents have come to us and asked us, can you please do various activities for our older kids? And we've never had the space. So recently, in the last few years, some parents have started a teen board at the museum. It was something we could actually do with their help. And we have 20 teenagers who are engaged in leadership activities, creating exhibits, and participating in community projects. So we're very excited to be offering a teen space for learning and socialization for that population. as well as the STEAM Center, which will also be offering STEAM activities for older population of children. The younger kids will have their own art studio, which is over in the saplings area. And this space will be designated for children above the age of 5. It will include programs and camps, as well as daily activities. You can see in the back, we'll have a make it space, and art will be part of this great space like we currently do in our art room. We will have a variety of STEM learning and environmental education. That's so important for our area. The other new space that we are incorporating into the new facility is the den, which I mentioned for teens and tweens. And this area is going to allow groups of tween and teen students to be able to self-direct projects that they particularly are interested in. So perhaps it would be building an escape room for other kids to enjoy, or developing projects revolving around Lego robotics. Our goal is to make sure that the teens who participate in programs in the den, that they work together, that they're project oriented, and that they're self-directed and not directed by adults. We will have adult mentors, but this is really the programmatic direction will take place by the teens who are participating. And that pretty much covers my area of the new museum. Let me stop here, and I think we're ready for question and answers.
Wonderful. Well, it's so exciting to hear what you have in store for the museum. You talked a little bit about the different age groups that you are working to support. Is there anything that you're doing in terms of educating parents, guardians, grandparents to be more supportive of what kids are experiencing at the KidZone? Are there classes for adults?
You know, we do have that on our list for the future. At the moment, in our tiny space, like we don't have an office. We rent an office offsite we did pre-COVID at the lift. And so we occasionally will partner with next door. It used to be called the Family Resource Center with programming. We really need a better space for that. At the moment, we can't even really have birthday parties because we can't have a birthday party and the public at the museum at the same time. But it is a need, and families are always wanting that type of information, or asking our staff, my child's doing this right now. Is that okay? And that's like, we really have to get a lot more child development education into our programming for adults. We have special nights at the museum, and those are for families with children with special needs. And we do collaborate with other organizations, whether it's PT or OT or other fields, and they come to the museum and bring an activity and talk to parents. So it's informal learning for parents who have questions about their child's development. At the moment, we only have enough room to do that once a month. So
I guess I should mention that we are also doing, along those lines, a podcast called Small Talk Tahoe that I actually get a host. Super fun. So that's another thing that we are offering, and that really is a parent education, although it's a little bit more geared towards highlighting and celebrating the expertise that we have right here in Truckee, North Lake Tahoe, and it's super amazing. So our guests have included Dr. Christy Jackson, who's an optometrist, and Nick Bartlett, who's a school psychologist. So we have some really amazing resources right here that we've been able to highlight on the podcast.
Great. Well, we have a question coming in from the audience on YouTube. Sean Montgomery is saying, I've previously worked with an ed tech company called Makey, and I'm curious what you think ed tech innovations have brought to STEAM and what, if anything, you think is missing. Ed tech innovations and STEAM.
There's been a lot. You know, what's pretty exciting is a little silver lining about COVID has really pushed a lot of technical solutions to the forefront in education, which is great. But I guess I want to go back and celebrate the foundations of creative play. And in our museum, as much as I'm a technologist and I love technology, I ironically believe to build good, curious, creative thinkers that we don't need technology first. We need technology later. And we need play first. That's the work of the young children.
Yeah, that's what's going to ensure those brain synapses are developed so they're ready to study critical thinking skills in the later stages of development.
I've noticed an evolution from using the term STEM to using the term STEAM, and I'm curious what that change represents to you, and if that's sort of an evolution in the thinking, and sometimes whether there's different words substituted for those different letters.
Do you want me to start, Helen?
Sure, go ahead.
You know, for the longest time, KidZone has always really done STEAM. So you saw Samantha talking about her different projects that brought art and science together. And then I have to say, when I was visiting colleges for my kids, a lot of colleges are also doing that, like UC Santa Cruz, the art department, and the computer science department work together, because you have to have some art. First off, creativity lends itself to critical thinking of how you can do things. And on top of that, you know, if you're making a game, for instance, you still have to have those creative visuals that are supported by the technology behind it. So I guess we kind of fell into it. Other people were using STEAM, but really a lot of our science that we do at the museum, it has an art component to it. And the other draw is making it fun. And the younger kids age group, they love the fun. So a couple of the students were talking about the electricity camp. And it's so great. You can engage kids who are interested in electricity, and then you can engage those who aren't. And how you do that is through the art. So some of the kids, they're like this. They don't really want to make their circuits. And we do start circuits when they're little with Play-Doh. And that's super fun. And they can light up small light bulbs, and that's really fun. And sometimes it doesn't work and they get help and they're still learning. Okay, I see how that could work. There are no mistakes at the museum. There's only learning opportunities. But as soon as you put the art in, and they built that little house that Samantha was showing, they're dying to light it up. So they want to learn those circuits. So it's just another way to enter a child's brain.
Great. So there's also a question about other partnerships in town, and there's a trip to Mars camp that's run at the airport. And so just curious if you're collaborating at all on that, or any other local programs.
Want me to speak a little bit to that?
Sure.
So the museum has had partners at the airport. We did do an aviation camp with, this is bad, Lion Aviation. And then Ken Aronson runs that camp that you're talking about. And we're partners with the EAA and the Air Show. And I have to say, it's been such a great partnership because they also help us with many things at the museum now with their expertise, including we have an annual science festival. We We haven't had it obviously since COVID, but we welcome about 700 kids under up to first grade. And EAA will help us, and they man different stations. One time they brought an airplane with a cockpit and taught kids about everything about the airplane, which was really fun. Of course, at that stage, they're just getting what Helen mentioned earlier, is that exposure. You know, they really want to know, does it fly? You know, those are the questions they're asking. Those are all the precursors to future of STEM learning. So yeah, we do. We don't participate in Ken's camp. However, Ken has that in the new facility. Can we have our camp there? And I'm like, by all means.
Right. And Carol, I think that I think that people may have seen in the videos the older airplane exhibit that we had on the play floor, and the Truckee Tahoe Airport District has been a huge supporter of the museum over the years with exhibits, with the air blower exhibit that we have right now, and their ongoing support as a district has been really wonderful.
We also partner, I'm going to just throw this in, with our environmental camps. You know, if we do not have the expertise on staff, we definitely want to collaborate with other organizations and bring them into museum learning. And so TINS, which is Tahoe Institute for Natural Science, they teach ornithology, they teach Tahoe explorers, and a variety of environmental education camps for kids. Entomology, it's really fun. And so we are able to bring that expertise into the museum, and it still is building inquiry skills for any type of science field. So we also have Lego robotics, and we hire somebody to do those camps as well.
Great.
Yeah.
Talk to us a little bit about how you develop a new exhibit. Like, what's the A to Z process of getting one of your rotating new visiting, the different exhibits that you get, and how can the community support that?
Well, I wish Suzanne Montgomery could speak to this. I think her husband's online because she's an exhibits committee member, and it's pretty amazing. And so is her whole family. But let me just clarify that we do not do traveling exhibits right now at our current facility. We don't have the space, but we still partner with those other museums. We were in a grant collaboration with OMSI, which we did get exhibits. We developed them with OMSI. They were too big for us to house at the museum. So we housed, one was about nutrition, and we worked with our partner, Tahoe Forest Hospital and the Nutrition Coalition, and that was at the hospital. And then we had another scientific exhibit on space that we gave to for loan to to Heather Segali at the lake. Now I'm trying to think, it just escaped me the name of the UC Davis Environmental Research Center at the lake. So we don't have those yet, but at the museum, we create our own exhibits. I think Helen had some pictures in the beginning of that. And that is our exhibits committee of volunteers. And so people can help with any skills or no skills. The best people in that committee are everyone. I don't know, they're all great because they're volunteering hours of time, and they're building castles or tables, or they're creating the whole thing about, okay, so where's the gross motor skill going to happen? Where's the fine motor skill going to happen? Where's the literacy emergent skills going to happen? So we take all those things as a group. We think about them, we develop them, we within the theme that we plan. Right now it's Sierra Settlers, which is a play exhibit about the settlers into Truckee. So there's a Chinese herb shop, thanks Helen, and there's a castle, not a castle, I'm so sorry, a boarding house. I say castle because this was a castle, and we converted it to a boarding house upstairs and a foundry downstairs. The Standheiners that own Mountain Forge helped us with the foundry. And we actually had somebody build this the train for us, but a local muralist and volunteers painted the train, and it's so beautiful. And then we have murals throughout on all the walls, which really lets a child feel like they're in the environment. In fact, when they're really young and they're not quite sure what to pretend, it's so cute because they will, see a door painted on the wall and go, how do I get in there? How do I get in there? And we have to say, it's just a pretend wall. And then we have to explain it. Sometimes we feel bad you can't get in the wall. So, but it takes us a year to plan and build new exhibits with about a team of 10 volunteers. It will take anybody with skills or without skills who wants to help with that.
Wonderful. Well, we're pushing up against our hour. Are there any parting thoughts you want to leave for our membership before we wrap up?
I will do a couple of things. And this is Helen's expertise. We do have tours in the museum. So if you want to see what's going on at the museum, you could go to our website and get on one of our in-person tours. And
just show up tomorrow at 10 a.m. KidZone Museum.
Done.
We'll welcome you with your mask and vaccination in hand. We'd love to have you.
That would be great. The other thing is, if anybody's interested in being part of, what were you calling it? Was it the STEAM team of advisors, Helen?
Oh, we're just kind of making that up. STEAM team.
Yeah.
We're toying with that idea of getting our advisory team ready for the new museum.
So if you are interested in education and STEAM and have some great ideas, that's what we're developing now, is an advisory committee for that. And if you want my email, you could get it from Ellen.
Well, thank you. So many exciting things going on at the KidZone, both the KidZone present and future. And we thank you for sharing that with us today. And would like to remind our audience that you can find us the second Monday of the month at 5 p.m. on YouTube Live, or look at our archives. For those of you who missed seeing it real time, it'll be up on the archives. So thank you very much. And we look forward to seeing you all next month.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.